Hey guys, welcome back to the Not So Clueless podcast. I feel like I need something to clip my mic onto. Yeah, today's a post-it note. That's what we're using. Anyways, first of all, Happy New Year. Happy New Year, guys. I take full accountability for not showing up the past couple of weeks. I did have one more episode from last year that I could have edited, but I don't know. I feel like when I sit on footage too long, I revisit it and I'm like, this is old news. That's actually why it's so important for me to edit as soon as possible, like after I film something. So I probably will still release it because it is a good episode, but I don't know, I'm always in movement onto something new. I'm wearing a new year. So anyways, today I have no idea what I'm speaking about, but sometimes that's a great thing. And historically, some of my best work in any avenue, any area of my life has come from the unplanned, structureless, skeletonless things that I've done. So I'm just gonna yap and hopefully it goes somewhere. But yeah, Happy New Year. I just want to say I hit 10k on TikTok before the end of the year, like I said I would. So gassed about that. What was so funny about it is because I was so tired around that time, I didn't really deep it. I was on live like every day or every other day trying to get to my follower goal. So I didn't even deep it. It's only till last week. We're in January now, but it was only literally last week that I deeped. Oh yeah, I actually hit 10k and I'm almost on 11k, which is great. So yeah, Happy New Year to me. A great way to start the year. So I've been in my head so much lately. I don't know if I'm having a quarter life crisis or when you just hit that point where you're like, what have I done? What am I doing? Where am I going? That's kind of the sort of place I'm in right now. And all the advice I get, it just doesn't work. And then I remember I'm neurodivergent and I feel like sometimes I completely forget that or don't consider it when I am looking for help. And the advice out there is very generic, it's very neurotypical. So one thing in particular that I'm struggling with is being in a free state. When you have so many different goals, so many different things you want to achieve, what you want your life to look like. I know what I want my life to look like. But when you know exactly what you want, but it's multiple areas of your life, it can put you in a free state and make you feel like, what the hell am I doing? What do I do next? And that's literally where I am now. And the advice always given to me is do one thing at a time. That's always the advice I get. Do one thing at a time, tackle one thing first. But I just can't imagine a version of my life where I'm focusing on one thing and then everything else is flopping. I just feel like it won't make me feel achieved just because that one thing is growing. So with my ADHD recently as well, I've been trying to find ways to lean it into the way that my brain already works and not fight against it or try and do things that are not natural to me or my brain. So one thing about me is I'm multifaceted. I can do a lot of things and I'm one of those people that truly believe that if I put in effort to something, even though I've never touched it before, it will bear fruit and it will go somewhere or I can do something with it. And I'm also someone that gets bored easily. I need novelty, I need interest, or it doesn't work for me. So today I've decided to try something new, which is creating a productivity menu, if you will. So what I've done is I've listed all the things I actually want. So for example, let me have a look at what I wrote down because I wrote it on my phone. But I've listed everything that I basically want. So my driver's license, what else? Goals about my content creation journey, about my speaking skills, confidence, meals, like what I'm eating, gym, that sort of thing. So what I've done is written down all my goals and then I've broken it up into mini milestones. So you get to the mini milestones before you hit the big one. So for example, with driving, it would be my theory test. And then it would be, I don't know, booking my first lesson or completing 20 hours or passing my practice driving test, So I've broken everything down into like smaller milestones that I would hit. And then basically, I've now broken that down further into little things, little 20-minute things I can do every day. So instead of saying this quarter, I'm going to focus on getting my driver's license and I'm only going to focus on that and I'm going to do hours and hours of study, what I've done instead is broken several of my goals down and I'm going to do 20-minute sessions every single day, not only for 20 minutes. So for example, the driving, it could be I complete 1 hour that day, but it's going to be in 20-minute slots and it's going to be based on my energy. It's going to be based on what area I feel like I haven't focused on in a bit. So basically, I'm going to go back and forth between different goals, and that should, one, keep the interest, keep the novelty for my brain, and hit my goals. They say 1% every day, right? That sounds like 1% to me. So basically, that's the angle. So right now, today's Saturday, I've broken my whole day down into those 20-minute windows. My rest windows and my eating windows are 1 hour, but everything else is 20 minutes at a time. Obviously, the content filming is 1 hour because I knew that I intended to film a podcast episode, which is way longer than 20 minutes. But everything else is 20 minutes basically. And I'm actually ahead of schedule. So at 12, I was supposed to start filming content at 12, but I've already started. And hopefully, that will move me forward or create momentum. And then it will also show me evidence that what I'm doing every day, those small 20-minute increments, they add up to something. They're making a difference. So that's the angle with that. And I'll update you guys on how that goes, but that's what I'm doing right now. And then something else that I've actually been doing to reset my brain, I one day I sat down and I was like, I'm actually fed up. I think that's part of the little crisis that I've been going through. It's like I'm tired of being tired of being tired. Like I'm kind of fed up or frustrated, which means I'm not doing the right thing. Because one sign that I'm definitely not doing what I should be doing is frustration. So the other day I was just like, I say the other day, it was a couple of weeks ago, but I just felt like not I could be doing more, but I could be doing something different. I don't want to frame it as more because it implies that I'm doing not that much, and I am doing a lot. Like everything I've done, I did that. Do you know what I mean? But I just feel like I could be doing something different. Like I want change. I want something new. My favorite Uber driver, he was like, you just need a holiday. But I think it's more than that. Honestly, I think it's more than that. Because if I went on holiday right now, yes, I would enjoy the sun wherever I go, whatever. But I feel like I would end up deep in life at the beach. Do you know what I mean? So it's more than the location. It's more than just a holiday. I need real change. And so, yeah, I just felt like fed up, I guess. And I concluded that, shit, I'm actually addicted to my phone. Like, genuinely, like, it's not a jokey joke. Like, it's not jokey anymore. I think that we're all so lighthearted about doom scrolling and wake up in the morning and you're grabbing your phone. The way we speak about it is like it's this silly girly thing that we're just doing. But no, it's actually an addiction. Like I sat down, I actually had to have an intervention with myself and admit to myself I actually have a phone addiction. And I'm someone who I thought that I'm not really prone to addiction. Like I've dabbled in a few things, but I've never had that urge to go back to it or like I need this again. But the one thing that has stuck is my phone. And it's a problem when you wake up in the morning, you're just scrolling instantly. Like, girl, did you even drink the water beside your bed? Did you even like get up, stretch? Like I'm not saying do you go to the gym, bang a 1 hour session at 5 a.m. Like that's not what I'm saying, but it gets to a point where it's like, bro, you can't even forget about your phone in the morning just to like do something for yourself, not even necessarily productive, but something for your well-being, like the bare minimum for your well-being. that's when I was like, yeah, I have a problem. There was a time in my life where I cut out social media before 12 p.m. basically, and it worked for me. I did it for a bit. It did what it needed to do. So literally that day I was like, I'm starting that again, starting tomorrow. And that's what I did. And it's been a week now, I think, of not going on social media before 12 p.m. It's 12 p.m. now, so this would be the time where I would go on socials, but I'm filming. So yeah, I think it's been doing wonders for me. It's, at first you get withdrawal like any addiction, like, and it sounds so silly talking about a phone addiction, but it's a real thing. Like, you get withdrawal, you're just like, ugh, I'm so bored. It feels icky and uncomfortable, kind of like your brain is looking for something, but there's no instant solution. I think that's the dopamine craving, because you know you get so much dopamine from scrolling. And if you have ADHD, you probably know about the relationship between ADHD and dopamine. But it was kind of like my brain was itching to find something. But then I had other things. I have a bookshelf. Like, I have things that could entertain me. I could journal. But it was like my brain was like, oh no, not that type of dopamine. Like the quickest one, the fastest one, the one that's going to make you laugh or cry or feel something. And that's for me, scrolling. And so yeah, at first it felt like withdrawal. It felt like, what the hell? I can't do this. But then slowly but surely, a couple of days in, I started getting used to it. On my commutes, I would just sit with my thoughts. And one thing I will say about stripping social media away in the morning is that you deep your actual thoughts, because obviously if you're waking up and you're scrolling straight away, you don't have time to sit with your own thoughts. You don't really know what you're thinking. You're taking in so much of other people's opinions and thoughts. Whereas TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, we're always seeing other people's opinions, and it kind of dilutes the sound of your own voice and your own thoughts in your head. And I felt like that's what had happened to me, because when I took away the social media, I took away everyone else's opinion first thing in the morning, what I was hearing in my head wasn't great. I'll be so real. Like, I didn't like my thoughts. I felt trapped in my own head and forced to face things. And it sounds so deep, but like, that's literally what happened. So yeah, that's something that I'm doing as well now. And it's really hard as well, because sometimes I wasn't only dopamine seeking in the morning. Like, sometimes I would check on a video that I've posted the night before so I can reply to all my comments and stuff like that. So it was really hard for me to not do content creation admin in the morning. I usually do that in the morning, so that was hard as well. But it's like, those comments can be waited to be replied to, and if I really feel like I need to respond sooner than after 12, then I should post a video earlier in the day so that I still have time to reply to comments. So yeah, like, that's me with my social media. And yeah, it's just made me pay attention to my thoughts. Yeah, I have some tidying to do in my brain, basically. But all in all, even going back to the whole productivity thing and being in a free state, one thing as well that I realized was that I feel like, especially as someone with ADHD, someone who is neurodivergent, it's so important to have those restrictions. Like, I think I have to be a bit more strict about the way I live my life, just because of the way the world is designed and the way things are designed. The way social media is designed is nothing great for a brain like mine. And because I'm an adult, it's actually my responsibility to be able to handle myself with whatever circumstances. So with the way social media is designed, I think it's my responsibility to act accordingly or do what I need to do so that I can remember to live my life and live in the real world and not be consumed by content, and instead focus on creating. Like I've been saying for a long time, I want to move from consumer to producer. Is that what I mean? Basically, I want to move from consuming content all the time to creating. And that's not an overnight shift. You don't just the next day start creating and minimize your consumption hours immediately. It's kind of like a whole process that you go through. And I feel like cutting out social media before 12 p.m. was a good step for me, because it means that the hours I would have spent in the morning scrolling, I can actually do something else. Even if it's still consuming, but not consuming video content online, and it's like reading a book. I would much prefer that. But yeah, I do want to shift from consumer to creator. And I was thinking about all the projects that I've kind of started and picked up and not continued. And I think that a lot of it is because of the pressure of I have to do something daily or do something weekly. But consistency doesn't always look linear. Like, consistency isn't linear all the time. I think for me, I'm finding my definition of consistency. I'm finding my footing in showing up in the way that works for me, but still is consistent, if that makes sense. And also letting go of the idea that something has to look a certain way to be credible. I define what is credible, you know? Like, I define what is credible to me. I really admire people that can have a structure and a system and a script and they know what they're doing like all the time. But I feel like when it comes to creating, that's something that doesn't work for me, and it doesn't have to work for me. The same way I'm filming on a whim now. Who knows what will happen to this video, where it will go, or who will see it. You know, it's not about how organized you are. It's about creating. It doesn't matter how it's created. When people watch and consume things, as sad as it is, no one thinks about the process. Unless you've got like some high level production, but even then, only other creators will be able to appreciate the production of something made. But the average consumer does not think about all the planning and the hours and the concept and the filming angles and all these things. They don't think about those things. So at the end of the day, that doesn't actually matter. What matters is the message gets out there in the way that you want it to get out there, and it reaches the person that you want to reach. And that's something I want to apply to my own content. Like, it's not about where you are. For example, I'm at home right now. Obviously, you guys know I always film Not So Clueless episodes in the studio, but the studio is closed. So am I just gonna sit and say, oh, my studio is closed, all the other ones are expensive, I'm not gonna film? No, you adapt and you find your way of still getting the message out, of still creating. And I had to catch myself in that. The studio closed, and my first thought was, oh, like, I need to know when they're reopening. No, I need to know how I'm gonna get my next episode out regardless. Like, it shouldn't be conditional on the things that I use to produce the episode. It should be, this is what I want to do, and I'm gonna do it regardless of externally what's happening. So I had to like step out of that and realize I do have a place that I can film. I have lighting. If the sun wasn't out right now, I have artificial lighting. I have the mic, I have the camera, I have the tripod if I needed that, but I'm just literally resting my Osmo Pocket on some books right now. Like, sometimes go back to the basics, go back to what you would do if you didn't have the money for the studio in the first place, you know? And I think there's as well creativity in that, and power in being creative about the way you get what you want out there. When I started YouTube in 2017, I think 2017, 2018, I filmed on my iPhone, whatever it was, and I had it against some books by my windowsill in my old room, and my fan was blowing. The sound wasn't like amazing, but it got so much traction because that was the first time that people saw my full personality online. I don't know if I've talked about this, but I used to be on YouTube, like on YouTube. I wasn't consistent because I wasn't trying to be a content creator at the time. It was like an outlet for me. It was very healing. And that's why I'm always drawn back to YouTube. Like, I have a thing for YouTube. I can't just leave YouTube behind. So that's a bit of backstory. I've been online for a while, But my point is, work with what you have. I feel like when you say, I need this light, I need this tripod, I need this mic, whatever, I feel like it's just an excuse. And that's why I had to catch myself and say, like, okay, let me not do that thing where I'm using the studio as an excuse. I never needed a studio to film a YouTube video, and I wouldn't need it to film a podcast episode. So why is my mind going to do that? So I had to correct myself. Also, on another note about me being online for a while, I realized that with my TikTok, I started taking it seriously in August last year. So that's been August, September, October, November, December. Almost 6 months, yeah. I've reached 10k, great. But I think some people genuinely thought that I just popped out of nowhere and then I got 10k. That's actually not what happened. And I feel like that's what we assume a lot with people's stories that blow more than me. Is that we always see someone pop out of nowhere and think, how the hell did that happen? Like, what was behind it? That's what I think of as a creator. I always think of how another creator has reached where they are, like, what was the process? And I think sometimes we tend to skip those steps that were not shown. And for me, on my journey, I can say, like I said, I was on YouTube since I was, 17. Yes, I was inconsistent, but I already built up those skills of talking to a camera. I have good communication skills. I'd like to think I'm a good speaker. I'm a decent speaker. That's something that I actually, sorry, this sun is in my eyes now. I'm going to move. But that's actually something I want to work on. I want to build on my speaking skills. I think that it's great, but it could be better, especially with projecting my voice, speaking to a wider audience. I'm so good at speaking to people one-on-one. I'm good at speaking to a camera, but I would love to be able to speak to a big group of people better. So that's something I'm working on. It's in one of my little productivity menu things. But my point is, there was a story, right? I've been posting, even on TikTok. I think I joined TikTok in 2021. And although I wasn't taking it seriously, I was doing it for fun. That was still me getting my reps in. I just didn't know at the time that it was really going to go somewhere and it was going to be a part of my journey of becoming a content creator or being a bigger content creator than I was, because I was still a content creator because I was creating content. And that's another thing. I think people love to gatekeep labels. And really and truly, if you're really focused on what you're doing, you shouldn't really care. For example, if I saw someone else that was creating content, but they're not trying to have a platform, I would still consider them a content creator, whereas other people would be like, no, they're not a content creator because they're not taking it seriously. That's like saying a lash tech or hairdresser that is doing it part-time and isn't trying to open a salon isn't a lash tech or a hairdresser. And that just doesn't make sense. And I feel like people try and gatekeep to make themselves feel better about what they're doing and to give what they're doing meaning. But the meaning isn't found in your title or your label. The meaning is found in the impact and the fruits of what you're planting, like the fruits of your seeds, basically. That's how I think about it anyways. So I don't think anyone should be gatekeeping things. To a certain extent, yes. Like, if we talk about, for example, I'm Nigerian. When people of a different culture, where the bride and the groom is not Nigerian, is wearing gele and ashobi, like, okay, it gets to a point that, yeah, we need to gatekeep. But in terms of, like, normal things, I don't think it's that deep, basically. But yeah, I guess this episode is about movement. Now that I'm thinking about everything I've said, I guess the episode is about movement and just remembering that nothing has to be linear if you don't want it to be. You can find your own unique way of reaching the destination that you want to reach. And for me, I'm going to do the productivity menu and see how that works for me. But yeah, and I feel like, you know what, recently I felt really icky. I think I got like content ick. It actually happened after I cut out social media before 12 p.m. Now, when I use social media, I feel icky. I feel quite icky towards a lot of videos. I was watching a creator, I'm not going to say who, I was watching a creator on YouTube, and she usually does these like self-help confidence boost videos type of thing. So I was watching one of her videos and I was like, this is good, but she's shouting at me. And I think when you're chronically online, it becomes normal for people to shout at you or just like speak to you in a way kind of like that. You know that woman that does, what's it called? She tells people they're fat and stuff. Like people that are trying to lose weight, and she's like, oh, that's because you just had another meal of the night or something. You guys know who I'm talking about. If you're online, you know who I'm talking about. It was giving that, and that's the first time I saw that creator's videos in that way. And I thought, well, what she's saying is true, but I'm not sure why she's shouting. But at the same time, at least she hasn't said, this video is sponsored by BetterHelp. And then what happens literally 10 seconds later, she starts speaking lower and she's like, and that's why I recommend BetterHelp. And I just burst out laughing and I closed the video. And it just clicked in my brain that like people that are trying to create, they're not only trying to create, but they're trying to make money. And I think when you're neurodivergent, the flavor of neurospicy I am anyways, I see through BS in the workplace, at church, when I'm out and about, online. Like I can see through BS, and it makes it harder to take in a message. It makes it harder to find meaning in things that you're meant to find meaning in. So let's use that YouTube video as an example. She was installing confidence. Someone would have been touched by that video, definitely. Some people respond to being shouted at or like shaken, like you need to wake up type of content. But for someone like me who has seen straight through it, it hasn't had that impact. And when you're someone who sees through BS, it's so hard to find meaning in things that are brought to you. I'm really trying, I'm trying to explain this in a way that you guys will understand. But let's use academia and work as an example. So the average person in school concentrated, they liked to get validation from their teachers. They found pride in their work, even if they didn't like whatever they were doing. For me, I didn't operate that way. I was good at the things that I had interest in. So I was a maths person. I loved maths. So all my energy went to maths. Do you get it? Whereas the average person finds, I don't know, I think they get dopamine from like finding a challenge and not liking something or not being passionate about something but overcoming it anyways. And I don't quite work that same way. And then it goes into the workplace where they're trying to get their manager's approval or they want to be recognized in the workplace and stuff like that. And then for someone who sees through BS and is passionate about certain things, and it might not be where they're working, it might not be that. It's hard because systems that are set in place to make those people feel something or for them to have meaning, it doesn't give that same thing to someone like me. And when the veil is removed, like when you see past the BS and you understand, for example, corporate is the biggest BS game I've ever seen. Like I knew it was bad from what people were saying on TikTok online because, you know, before I joined a corporate role, I did do my research. What should I know? What is it like? But no one said the real because I don't even think they were prepared to really, really say what it's like. And I think when I leave corporate, I'll be able to openly and freely talk about what is really, really like no BS aside, what it's actually like. It's so fluffed up, and I'm I'm not a fluff up person. Like I don't fluff things up. My natural instinct isn't to fluff things up. It's not to make people feel better about information. My natural instinct isn't to be palatable or to appease to people that I don't relate to or that I know are communicating with me with an agenda or for a reason or a different motive than to just authentically get to know me. And so when I'm quiet in, this is for everything, not even just work, but when I withdraw because I don't feel like this is a safe space, I guess, like I feel like this is some bullshit. So when I withdraw, it might come across as cold, it might come across as you don't want to partake in this game that we've created. And it's just like, no, I'm just a normal person and I want to be authentically me. And because I can smell bullshit, why would I waste my time speaking to you or doing whatever to appease to you? I'm going to go home drained and I'm not going to have any creative energy left for my pursuits and my personal passions and projects. And so I have to be really, really selective about what I give my energy to. I have to be selective about what I care about. I think that for a neurotypical, they're able to fake stuff. They're able to be fake and come home and still have time or energy to do the things that they want to do. But for someone like me, putting on a mask is extremely harmful to my passions and the things that I want to do. Of course, because I now understand the game, I know how to be palatable, I know how to climb the corporate ladder, I know all these things now. But if I pretend to be someone I'm not all day, every day, 5 days a week, I'm going to come home and I'm going to have no juice left for Not So Clueless. I'm not going to have any energy to make content. I would just literally live for my 9 to 5, which would be fine if my only intention was to be in my 9 to 5. Like, I would be happy to put on a mask 5 days a week if it meant that I was going to climb the corporate ladder because that's what I wanted. But that's not the only thing I want. So I can't do that. And so I'm finding my middle ground of playing the game, but also still being authentically me and still doing things outside of work to keep myself sane, basically. So yeah, I just think that it's a tricky one. It's a little bit tricky. But I'll be able to fully talk about corporate when I'm out of it, because digital footprint digital footprint is real. So I can't be doing all that, unfortunately. And I do have to be careful about what I'm saying online. You know, guys, so I'm on LinkedIn, right? And I was gonna start posting on LinkedIn. So my brand was like reporting from the marketing world from a neurodivergent lens. But then I'm deep in the things that I want to say is like, depending on how you read it, it might read as slander, but it's kind of like curiosity, questioning the environment. It kind of goes against the whole corporate veil thing. Like, it lifts the veil, and I think that's very uncomfortable for people. I don't think LinkedIn is necessarily the platform to do that, unless I'm on the wrong side of LinkedIn, and maybe there's a side of LinkedIn that is a little bit more real and authentic and questions things and questions systems. But I don't think my type of posting would land there. Well, maybe I'm just going to post it anyways, because the point isn't to garner as much people as possible on my LinkedIn. Is to be authentically myself in a professional sense and communicate who I am as a professional and why I should be trusted. Not only because I can deliver results, but because I have a compass that guides me and allows me to make the right decisions because of that. Like, I think being a leader and being someone who's trusted in a professional sense goes beyond delivering results. It's also about who you are as a person and how you relate to other people, and also discernment. I think all my strengths are not things that can be measured for the most part. When I think of my strengths in my role and my job or whatever, and just in general, I don't think my strengths are things that can be measured. And sometimes that can make you feel like, what is my strength? Like, what am I really doing if it's not showing to everyone else? And what is it if it's not being acknowledged? But no, like, I sat down and I was listing my strengths, thinking about my strengths, and I deeped that all the things that I'm really good at and confident in and that make me me cannot be measured. But they are things that other people don't have. They are strengths. So it's a bit of a sticky one, but it is what it is. Honestly, it is what it is. So I'm just, to me, I'm trying to find a way to still be recognized in certain areas. That's what you do to like fluff up your CV, right? So that's what I'm doing. How long has this episode been? I don't know how long this episode has been. Whenever I do a podcast episode, I feel like, I don't know if it's the speed at which I'm talking or because I've managed to condense an idea down I just feel like sometimes I run out of things to say. I'm just like, okay, I think I've exhausted the topic, like I think there's nothing else to say. But now I'm deeping, so I just realized this. A podcast episode doesn't have to be an hour or however long. A podcast episode can be 8 minutes because I want it to be 8 minutes. And yeah, I just realized I have free will again, guys. Because when you see podcast episodes, obviously they're usually like over an hour. Yeah, like podcast episodes are quite long. But I think when you're able to string together your sentences and your thoughts quite quickly and concisely, there's no need to speak for over an hour for me. Like, I love speaking, but if I genuinely have nothing else to say, I won't say it, I guess. But yeah, I just realized that my podcast episode can actually just be 30 minutes or 20 minutes, and that's fine. You can listen on your commute. I don't know. You can listen while you clean, do it like a mini sprint clean or something. I don't know. But anyways, thank you guys for listening to this episode about movement and momentum. I think that's along the lines of what I'm going to call it. But I really just needed to get that off my chest, one, and I needed to get an episode out. So killing two birds with one stone. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Let me know your thoughts as usual, whether that's on YouTube, Spotify. I don't know if you can comment on Apple. I don't know. But just let me know what you think. And I'll see you guys in the next episode.